Hello, everybody.
Where are we going? But we're going right now.
Yeah, we're going right now. We're going right now.
It's weird because it's actually called a cattle town in the description, but it's more
There's no
more of a
cattle. It's a mining
yeah.
town.
It is. Well, it was a mining town, but then the mine
But where were the cows?
closed. I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't
it
think there
wasn't
wasn't a
focusing on
single
cows. It was
cow.
focusing on the old mine.
But
I mean,
the
like what?
aesthetic. If it's a cattle town, you need the cow aesthetic. We had the mining aesthetic. This is all wrong.
Yeah,
No.
this is all.
Description is wrong. This is a mining town.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway,
Apparently, it was at 65.
ew.
So
That's cruel and unusual punishment. They
I
leave and
agree.
they turn it down to 65 for you.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, you turned it up. Why did you do that? Like, gee, maybe because it's freezing in here?
You left me here in this ice box.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new video. My name is Sarah, and I'm here with a very, very special guest, my little brother, Bryce. Oh,
Hello.
You don't like the term little brother?
No,
What would you rather be referred to as?
not a little brother.
What? My younger brother?
Yeah, there we go.
My younger brother. Sorry, I apologize.
Gosh, jeez.
Anyway, so we're here because we did a buddy read together. And this is going to be kind of interesting because so we started this buddy read back in like November. I think the beginning of November, and I finished it in November. And you finished it
Mid-ish December.
What? I thought it was like a week ago.
I guess it was. Yeah, so it was about a week before we visited you, so about 2 weeks ago, I guess it was.
Yeah.
I was thinking that it was earlier for some reason. I forget that it's mid-January now.
Yeah, it's like January 16th, dude. Get with the program. So we could have done this review video, in person when we were together last week, but I had a huge brain fart moment and just completely forgot about it, even though we literally talked about the book. So we're doing this over Discord call now, and that's COVID friendly. We're with the times. So we read, what was the book? You have the book. I read it on my Kindle, but you have it.
The Six Gun Tarot.
So this is like a sci-fi Wild West or like a fantasy Wild West story. It's really bizarre. It's also classified as like Weird West. So we're in,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I saw it classified on Goodreads as like Weird West, which I didn't even know that was a classification, but apparently it is. So we are in mid-1800s Nevada, and there's this little town called Golgotha.
Golgotha?
Golgotha? Yeah, I never
That's
knew.
How I pronounce that.
Golgotha sounds better than Golgotha. I don't know. So we're gonna go with Golgotha. And that's actually the name of this series. This is like a 4-book series, but this is the first book. So we're following this little town, and we follow our main character,
quote-unquote main character.
We start following Jim as he is kind of like lost in this desert, but he's heading towards Golgotha. And this is just a little like mining town filled with some really crazy stuff. Everybody has like some sort of strange secret that they're keeping from everybody else that you slowly start to learn about as the book goes on. And all the while there's this creepy dark entity that's hanging out deep in the mines that have since been shut down, and it's starting to cause a lot of disruption in the town, and if they don't stop this deep dark entity, then the world may end. And that's kind of the general gist of this book. Did I get it pretty good? Would you add anything?
Yeah, no. I mean it's more the select few characters. I don't think it's the whole town that hides secrets, but
I don't know. There's a lot of people that had some really wild stuff going on. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean the whole town was just strange.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to live there.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
They were wild, man. Don't tell me you wouldn't find that like very fascinating to live there. You
I
would never be
mean,
bored.
there was vampire and potential rat people that was mentioned in the book.
Oh no, that's not a spoiler because that
That's
didn't
not spoiler.
that was
Okay.
just mentioned. Yeah,
Yeah, for
there
like
was
town history. Yeah, that I'd rather not deal with.
that's
But
that was one of my
that's
like
just me.
favorite parts though, is that like you would get these like big reveals about each character and then just nonchalantly they would talk
Yeah.
about this like vampire issue that happened 2 years ago, or this rat people infestation that like
What was it, rat people, or was it like
it
pig
I
people?
think it was rat people. I think, but yeah, they were just like
Yeah.
so
Or
nonchalant.
rats the size of a man, or something like
Something
that.
like that. Oh yeah, you remember that for 2 years ago? That was a great time. Yeah, like half the
Boy,
town
hope it's not
died.
that again.
Yeah. Oh jeez, we can't deal with that again. That's where all the cows went. That's why we're not a cattle town anymore. Do you have like general thoughts? How did you generally feel about the book?
Going into it, I had a hard time. Yeah, very racial, and it was just not comfortable, you know? So it's just
Yeah.
like going into it, I had a hard time. Once I was in it, though, and once I got past that, I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, the whole plot and everything was good, but just that sort of initial, like, oh, we're going there type of thing was a bit of a shock, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And to kind of expand upon that, so I know I talked about it a little bit during my wrap up of during November when I read this book. But basically we both had a very hard time determining whether some of the more insensitive language used, they weren't like outright slurs, but there
I
was
think
like
the
were there
the one was.
was
I'm
there
pretty sure the one
there's
is,
probably
yeah.
one. But like there was some very insensitive language for sure, and we couldn't decide if it was just like the author was using those terms because of the time period, because like usually you can tell if it's like this is a term that was used in that time period, so they're trying to like emulate the time language and stuff like that, or if it was something like the author just didn't have a sensitivity reader and this was written in like 2013, which wasn't that long ago, but I feel like even back in like 2013 some more insensitive terms were more commonplace. So for instance, I think the one that kept being repeated a lot that like I noticed and was like I don't necessarily think this is like a necessary term to use is calling Chinese an alien tongue. It was in a character's internal monologue and they would repeatedly call it like an alien language or an alien tongue or something like that, and that's like, you know, a microaggression or an insensitive term, and because it was used specifically in internal dialogue or like internal thoughts, I didn't think that it needed to be there. If you're going to address those like racist tones and things like that later in the book, then I can see where they're necessary, but here they weren't necessary.
To me, it's like fantasy and all that. It's like, why do you need that? You know, like
Yeah.
the whole racism stuff or sexism stuff or homophobia
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's a fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, it's based on real world stuff, but at the same time, it's like it's not really needed. But
Yeah.
but I mean, I know that they were trying to put you back in the 1860s and all that terrible stuff was going on at that
Yeah,
point,
people
but
were real racist back then.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Caught me off guard, was not expecting it,
Yeah.
and didn't think that it was necessary. But if you can get past that, I do agree. The plot is very, very interesting.
Same with the characters. I mean, the main characters at least. They all had sort of different stuff about them that was pretty intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. We had like a lot of main characters. I felt like it was a pretty wide cast for the length of this book. But like speaking of that, like who was your favorite? Did you have a favorite?
Not really.
Okay.
I sort of there were things about people that I enjoyed, there were things about people that I didn't enjoy, but for the most part I enjoyed all of the main characters. Like
Okay. Who's weird like secret stuff did you find the most interesting?
In terms of like not knowing much about them and it just being intrigued that way, it would
Yeah,
have to be between Mutt and Sheriff Highfather.
yeah, for
Just
sure.
because you didn't really get much in the way of like who they are.
I felt like we really only got a Maud's background and Jim's background. I don't. We kind of
We
got the mayor's a little bit, kind
it's
of.
kind of hard with like them because it's like maybe like things that they had, like the
Oh
treasure that
yeah.
he had or and whatnot. That was kind of a mystery. But like as far as their actual backstory, I feel like it's pretty much just been in the town.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Same with like Augie's, uh,
Oh yeah.
and Clay was a little weird.
Clay was really weird.
I
Clay
I I
creeped me
didn't.
out.
Yeah.
I didn't like him. He creeped me out.
Oh, you didn't like him at all?
He was interesting, but he creeped me out.
Yeah.
He was a little
He
off-putting.
yeah.
He's a little bit of an oddball, but like in a good way. He wasn't like a bad guy. He was just he's kind of creepy though.
Yeah.
My favorite was definitely Maud. I loved her. I thought that she was awesome, and her backstory was just really fascinating. And I wanted more of like a whole, I guess, historical society, and to put it
Hmm.
in vague terms, that she kind of found herself in and everything. I found that very, very fascinating. And just kind of her whole story and her internal struggle that she had was pretty well written, I felt like.
Yeah.
I definitely think that like in the other books in the series we'll probably get like Highfather's background and stuff like that because it hinted at it.
I am curious because there is, if I'm not mistaken, there was a guy who was imprisoned and then sentenced to hang,
Oh
but
yes.
the rope like snapped like 3 different times, so it's sort of similar to Highfather. So I'm like curious if he was actually based on that guy.
Yeah. So I know you said that you had a hard time kind of getting into it because of like the language used, but it seemed like you kind of slumped in the middle as well. Was there any particular issues that you had like that maybe caused that slump a little bit?
Like, do you mean what with the reveal of oh gosh, what's her name?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
I know,
Yeah.
because when you when we were reading, so when you got to that point, I remember you saying because I remember I checked up on you on where you were at. Oh, what
Yeah.
Holly? Her name's Holly.
Is it
When
okay?
we
Yeah.
got to Holly's big like turning point in her story,
Yeah.
I remember you saying that you had a really hard time with that, and I remember
It,
reading it, and I was reading it, and I was like, "Oh, gross," and I'm like, "Oh God, Bryce is gonna have to read this. What am I letting my baby brother read?" And then I
so
had
I
to,
had the book before you.
well, yeah, that, and then I had to remind myself you're 22, so like you
I
can
am
read whatever you
22. Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Um,
I can.
but I was like,
Gosh.
oh, gotta protect him. It's nothing like
It's
it's
just awkward.
yeah,
Like it's just the language used to describe, like the descriptive language was just
it's very
awkward.
sexual. It's very
Yeah.
sexual. Um,
Yeah.
it's like a gross, it's like a disgusting but also sexual description and like
Yeah.
things happening put together. And that's why I was like, oh God, mom's gonna like know that you're reading this and she's gonna burst in and be like, what are you
Yeah.
letting my son read? It's a literacy, mom. It's fine. I'm promoting literacy.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
um and then, like I said, it's nothing like graphic and it's not like smut or anything like that. It's
No.
just very awkward to read. I feel like that had a purpose though because of like what happened with her and like kind of what she became, that aggressively sexualizing her um had a purpose. Yeah, I do remember you saying that that you kind of had you stopped for a while because you were like, ew.
Was just having a more a little bit more of a harder time with it than I already was
Yeah.
to read.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
And it was just like complete like whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Like but once when we because it sort of you brought up your point on why it was sort of needed in a way, or not needed, but why it would have been there potentially, and I was like, yeah, I definitely see that.
So we can kind of talk about that because my next question is going to be like what your favorite aspect of this book was, and that was actually one of mine, was how I didn't realize the scope of this book and
Mm.
like where it was going to go until you got to like what, the third or fourth chapter, and it
Yeah, something like
suddenly
that.
takes like us out of the town into a completely different
Time
time
period and time
period.
zone.
Yeah, time period, dimension, and like a whole other like couple of characters that are key, end up being key players in this story. And I was not expecting that. It felt like a complete left turn, but I absolutely loved that aspect of it and how it like played such a big part in definitely the later half of the story. But what about yours? Do you have like a favorite kind of part of the book, favorite aspect?
I don't really know. I mean, yeah, I guess I would have to say that it was all just sort of unexpected. Like I was going into this thinking that it would be like a like Cowboys versus Aliens type of thing, like
Yeah.
just like normal people, you know, like oh we gotta fight up or there's another book. It's another sort of like Western, but
Okay.
it's like just normal people fighting these monsters, you know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting not supernatural, but more fantastical, like
Kind of supernatural.
supernatural, yeah. Like being
Paranormal.
applied to the actual people, you know,
That
like
exactly.
that kind of was like, oh, I mean, I'm not against it, but it just sort of took me off guard because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
So I guess I would have to say sort of that unexpected, bigger supernatural stuff that
exactly.
was a part of it that I was like, kind of dig it.
Yeah. No, when you said Cowboys and versus Aliens, that's exactly what I went into expecting as well. So it's just
Yeah,
kind of funny we had that same like I guess baseline.
yeah.
So I know you kind of said like you would want more of like Highfather and Mutt's backstories. Was there anything else about the book that you wanted like more of?
The ending with Jim, I feel, should have been explored a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, not explored a lot more, but just sort of better explained, like as to why it was there.
Yeah.
That could have. I mean, I enjoyed his ending. Like, I thought that was really kind of cool, but it just sort of felt like, oh, and there's all this going
Yeah.
on. Like it wasn't that wasn't explained. That could have been a little different or added on to more than what it was.
No, I completely agree. I think we kind of talked about this when we did talk about it last weekend. That we both kind of thought it was a good addition and like a good thing to bring into the book, but it's like explanation and like kind of how it was grounded in the story was like paper thin. It just felt like it came out of left field and was just kind of thrown in there. I also didn't understand where Jim even came up with this idea.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing. I'm like, with Chen Huan, I think with his whole like speech to him, I think somehow he got that idea.
Yeah, but that
But
didn't make any sense.
yeah, because it didn't really feel like there was any like actual help with it. It just sort of was like, yeah, I can't help you, bud.
Yeah, that
Like
was what I
that
got out of
was
it.
yeah. So yeah, it is kind of like, how did he get that idea? You know?
Yeah, he gave like this whole
But
cryptic speech that basically amounted to you need to figure it out and like I
yeah,
can't help you but use the eyeball and that's all that
yeah,
I'm going to tell you. And then so it was like he laid out ABC and Jim suddenly jumped to Z. And with
yeah,
his like leap in logic, it was just like, ah, yes, I know what to do now. And I was just like, oh, okay.
yeah.
I mean, you do you, but man, my brain was not leaping to that point.
I was like, boy, I feel really dumb here. Like I'm at a loss. Like I would just leave that place being like,
Yeah,
well, guess we're screwed.
yeah, I have no idea, buddy.
The world's ending, you know? I can't
Yeah.
about it. He
Yeah.
sure isn't gonna do anything about it.
I know that we both, obviously liked the ending and found it really fun and like fast paced and interesting. So if you had to just kind of like give a like few sentence general description of this book, if you had to like relate it to something else or whatever in order to tell people like this is what this book is like. An example is a book that I really like, Iron Widow, basically explained as the anime Darling in the Franxx put in ancient China. So that's kind of what I mean. If you don't have anything, that's fine, because I have one.
I'll let you go, because I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Okay, so I think this book is like if you take season like 3 through 7 of Supernatural and put it in Wild West. That's what this book is like.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that does kind of wrap it up.
So now our ultimate questions. All right, these are super
Oh
important.
boy.
So
Holding on to
these are basically the tell-all questions of how you felt about this experience.
Oh boy.
1. Will you continue the series? I think it's a 4-book series so far. I don't know if it's actually finished or not. I feel like it might be
I don't know either.
But so we read book 1. Are you at any point thinking of continuing the series?
I might.
You might.
But it'll probably be farther down the road. Like I don't know when. It'll just sort of be one of those like, oh yeah, I might get into that again, you know?
That's
maybe.
Fair. So not like a
Not an immediate one.
Not
no.
an immediate one, but not an immediate
for
no. I'm never
multiple reasons.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mostly because I have a lot of other books that I should probably read, but it's I am intrigued by it nonetheless. Okay.
That's kind of how I'm feeling. So then, the actual most important question: will you do another buddy read with me in the future?
Oh man, I don't know, man. You're such a slow reader. I don't
Excuse
you, I can.
Mister. It takes me 3 months to read this book.
You know what? I would be down though.
Okay. All right, cool, good. That's the correct answer.
But it depends on the book. I mean,
yeah. It's got to be something good. I only read good books. I have good taste. All right, I have taste.
Nah.
Is there anything that you'd like to tell the people? My little corner of the internet.
Okay.
It is. It's a tiny one, but it's there. I'm here. On the internet, I'm here.
Tiny doesn't mean non-existent.
Exactly.
True. What would I tell people? Be nice to people.
Aww.
And have a good day.
Or
night.
Great.
Or afternoon or morning. Existence. There we go.
Good existence. I like that.
Yeah.
Alright, I think that's the best outro we're gonna get. You beat me in outros. So we're gonna end this here.
I'm a YouTube king, what can I say? Without a channel. I'm
YouTube king without a channel.
Bow down to me.
Oh.
Come on.
Alright, goodbye.